Welcome in to Start Sit Different Day. You cannot see Ryan's shocked face that we went live because he's dressed as a killer pumpkin. I don't really know what the costume is. I am in a Buc-ee's onesie for comfort and for Halloween. Josh is dressed like a Yankees fan. So, you know.
I'm pretending to be an athlete. I don't know if you can see my shirt.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You're an athlete with COVID.
There you go. I had COVID. Get it right.
He had the COVID, Ryan. No more COVID for Josh. All right, it is just us three today. Faith is working from 8:30 till question mark is what she told us.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll pop in at some point. She always does to say hi.
Final weekend before election season. If you're joining us for the first time, you may not know Faith is an election worker, so that's why she cannot join us today. Good morning, Michael. We already see you in here. Guys, if this is your first time, it's all driven by your questions. Guys and girls, drop all your questions in here. We're here to answer all of them. We have some from earlier in the week as well, but it's all driven by your questions here today. Quickly, before we dive into everything, here are your injuries for Week 8, and if you joined us last week, you would know that it was only about a half a page, which was amazing for injuries. It is now a full page of injuries. So we're back to the norm here in 2020. Questionable, Dalvin Cook. He is trending towards playing, so he's most likely going to play. Chris Carson, Travis Homer, both game-time decisions. Damian Harris, Phillip Lindsay, Frank Gore, Tim Patrick, Tyler Higbee, and Mo Alley Cox. Doubtful, Andy Dalton. He will not be playing. Carlos Hyde. He probably won't be playing. Marcus Ingram. Doubtful. Jamison Crowder.
It's just Mark Ingram.
Marcus.
Did I type Marcus?
No. No, you typed
I love
Mark.
how you had to ask.
You typed Mark.
hell?
I just wanted to call him Marcus. And then Jamison Crowder as well. Again, most likely not playing. As Faith has joined us for a quick minute here in a very...
Oh, there you are. Hi, friend.
Hello.
Hello.
And for the outs for this week, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, Jeff Wilson Jr., Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, who just doesn't seem to want to play football this year, Emmanuel Sanders, Marquez Callaway, Chris Godwin, Julian Edelman, N'Keal Harry, Alshon Jeffrey, Sammy Watkins. It still is going, ladies and gentlemen. Brashad Perryman, Debo Samuel, and Austin Hooper once again catches the bench. Wow. So there's your outs. Just a few small names like Aaron Jones and Miles Sanders. Go ahead, Faith.
First of all, Ryan, you have never looked more handsome.
Thank you.
That out there.
I wanted to put a paper mustache just so that people knew it was me.
That would have been awesome, Ryan. That would have been awesome.
Just so people knew it was me. Who would they have thought?
Wheezy Weez the pumpkin.
Also, he looks like a combination of a pumpkin and Jack Skellington.
Perfect.
Yes.
My dear friends, I just wanted to come say hi. Happy Halloween. I have to go back to work now.
Yep. Everybody vote.
Yep.
Bye. What he said. Bye.
You nailed the point. All right. So we got our first question from BDB0930. Sounds like a badass area code. All right, he needs 2 running backs, and ironically, Ryan, you put this in here. It is the most asked question of the week. Giovanni Bernard against the Tennessee Titans, Jamal Williams against the Minnesota Vikings, Boston Scott against the Dallas defense. I will start. This is a PPR as well. I will start Jamal Williams and Boston Scott.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning too. I like Gio. The matchup. I'm not
too
enamored with it. Yeah,
I actually don't like Gio at all this week now. 3 offensive linemen are going to miss the game on top of everything else. I am super down on Gio. It would only be Scott and Will for me. I'm not considering starting Gio anywhere.
I mean, Jamal Williams.
I think in one league I have to start Gio, but outside of that, like I'm not on top of my list. Yeah.
Oh, 0930 is his wedding anniversary.
Okay.
So that's very nice. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, it's Minnesota and it's Dallas. If you've watched any 2 seconds of Cowboys football, they are one of probably the worst defense in the NFL, and arguably could go down as the worst defense in NFL history. Statistically, there's a lot of defenses to match up against, but statistically, the Cowboys are on track to be the worst defense in NFL history. So just thinking of that. Also, rivalry game, Sunday Night Football. Eagles are at home. Boston Scott should have a good day, especially with no Miles Sanders. All right, Sean joining us as always. Part 1 here. He's in quite a predicament. Always stepping up the vocabulary here, Sean. 10-team standard league. Michael Thomas, he's out. Joe Mixon, he's out. Chris Carson, game time. David Johnson, active. Antonio Gibson, DJ Chark, James Robinson, all unavailable to me. Woo! He has no people to flex. That is tough. All right, part 2. He drops either Josh Allen, DJ Chark, or Justin Herbert.
No.
Oh, you cut Chark with no issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut DJ Chark. Yeah, definitely you cut DJ Chark.
And just pray to God nobody rushes to pick him up.
Yeah, he's not pumped about needing to drop one of them, but he's not sure what else to do. 3-4 in this league, and he needs a win. Yeah, you're going to drop DJ Chark. I
dropped Chark in a few leagues this week where I wasn't in a predicament. I was just ready to move on. So I understand he has a high ceiling, but man, does he have a pitiful floor on top of that. So
yeah.
I am highly contemplating dropping Julian Edelman, who is another guy I feel people might be holding on to for too long.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
What do you think about James White, Joe, this week and just in general?
Don't love him this week.
Not this week. The words were said perfectly on a show I listened to on Boston Sports Radio on 98.5 The Sports Hub. They need to reintroduce James White to Cam Newton because for some reason he does not want to throw the ball to him. Like we saw last week, Cam Newton was holding the ball, staring down his targets, wasn't able to complete it. If your first option isn't there, dump it to 28 because he's going to catch the football every single time you throw it to him, and he's going to get positive yards. Something that pissed me off is we saw 2 years ago or 3 years ago, James White was RB8, is because they utilized him so much in that offense. And he helped move the chains every single time. He's one of the most effective, arguably the best player on that offense right now.
Yeah.
And if you looked at it the past few years previous to that, the best player on that offense, not named Tom Brady. So I don't understand why they don't scheme for him more, why they don't utilize him more. Because right now, I think outside of Damiere Byrd, he has the best hands on the team. I'm really a big fan of Damiere Byrd. I thought he's stepped up his game a lot this year. But they're not using him this year. I don't know if it's something with Cam Newton. I don't know if it's something in the scheme. I want to say he should have a good second half of the year because at this point, who the hell else is there to throw to in that offense? But I'm not ready to.
Joe, with the way their season is trending, could you see them trading James White and then just maybe transitioning J.J. Taylor into that role, who has a very similar skill set to James White?
No, James, to me, that's a Patriot for life kind of guy, unless he's late in his career. What he's done for the organization, he's a Bill Belichick player. Work ethic, comes to work every day, works hard, doesn't complain. I would be genuinely shocked if they traded him. Also, I don't know if Bill would be willing to only get like a third round. I think you can only get a third round pick for James White. Honestly, I don't think anyone would be willing to give up a second. So I don't think they trade him, honestly.
When you look at next year's running back class, though, not that they're going to draft a running back, a third-round pick for James White's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, right?
So.
It's not at all. I mean,
no, sure.
When you look at just trading for running backs in general, like they don't typically garner a huge return. A third-round pick for a running back, especially a scat back like James White, I think that's a solid return.
I mean, if you want to sit here and talk about some of the best receiving backs in the NFL, you'd put James White in the top 3.
Yeah.
Like, if we're talking just pure receiving ability.
Now talk about him as an actual running back.
They've never utilized him in that. And he's
I mean, even when they have used him, he hasn't been all that impressive.
No, he's a small guy. He's not meant for that. He's meant to be
that's the point I'm getting at. Getting a third-round pick for essentially a one-dimensional running back, that's not bad value.
But when your one dimension of that offense pushes the chains at least 5 yards on every play, I'm just like, that's
when you utilize him in that role.
Josh, my point being is Josh McDaniels has forgotten how to call football games.
Let me just throw a team out there. You're telling me maybe Tom Brady and Tampa Bay wouldn't want him?
I mean, sure. I'm sure Tampa Bay would like if Tampa Bay wants to give me a second-round pick for James White, I'd be willing to part ways. But I love James White and really think that you need to work your offense around him, because there's guys you work your offense around. New Orleans, you work your offense around Alvin Kamara, but guess what? They try to work in Taysom Hill, and we see how that works out sometimes. Tampa Bay's perfect. You bring Tom Brady in, you work your offense around Tom Brady. You do not make Tom Brady conform to your offense. We saw what's happening. Tom Brady's starting to take over the reins, starting to utilize his skills and his stuff now. So it's working. You build around and work around the offense of the best guy on the team. That best guy is James White, and it's not even close right now. So I want him to play well the rest of the season, but Josh McDaniels needs to convince me, probably not this week because of the weather, but over the 2 weeks after that he is going to at least target or get James White potential touches around 12 to 15 times a game. Because if he's not, he's wasting that talent. And James White has a clock on him right now. He's not the youngest in the bunch. So that's what I would do with James White. Okay. I have him on my teams.
I have him on a lot of teams as well. Yeah, I was expecting big things this year. So
yeah. One from Michael over on Facebook. He picked up Big Ben on waivers. Couldn't let him just sit there. He's Lamar Jackson. What do I do going forward? Play matchups. I didn't really realize this. Ben Roethlisberger has had a shitty fantasy football season. Like he's
very average.
Yeah, like I think he's finished inside the top 10 once. And outside of that, it's been like 12, 15, 20, 22. Like I was kind of surprised. So that I find that very interesting. I mean, I don't.
But here's the thing: Lamar Jackson hasn't lit the world on fire either.
I agree. I think looking at it, I don't know how you sit Lamar Jackson for Ben Roethlisberger unless the matchup is that good.
Yeah, it would have to be a very much swing in the favor of Ben Roethlisberger.
Yes.
Yeah, Lamar right now is averaging really only about 3 fantasy points per game more than Big Ben in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. But Lamar each and every week is going to have so much more upside than Big Ben just because of the rushing ability.
This will be a very telling week as well coming out of the bye week. Pittsburgh's a tough matchup, but you had that whole week of extra preparation. I'm really interested to see how they look. See if they get Dobbins involved.
Yeah, the only way
because Gus Edwards is going to get swallowed up.
Yeah, the only way they're going to get Dobbins involved is with the passing game.
Oh, 100% of that.
That's not where Gus Edwards lived. All right, Sean, another one. Totally on board with dropping Chark. Who would you pick up in a flex? It's a standard. J.K. Dobbins, Tevin Coleman, Zach Moss, Scotty Miller, Sterling Shepard.
In standard?
Zach Moss.
Yeah, Zach Moss. I don't mind Sterling Shepard if it's PPR, but he's not going to get a ton of yards, maybe a touchdown here and there. But I think when it comes to consistent carries, especially this week, I do like Zach Moss this week.
All right. And then another one from BDB. His RB1 is Gordon. He needs an RB2. Jerick McKinnon, Damian Harris, DJ Dallas. He said his original running backs were Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, and Chase Edmonds. Obviously, Arizona being on a bye this week, Miles Sanders being hurt, that really kills him right there. I mean, Carson, I would be shocked if Chris Carson plays. Carlos Hyde is out. Travis Homer. DJ Dallas is the only healthy running back on that team right now. If it's PPR, I'm very inclined to start DJ Dallas.
I'm actually leaning Damian Harris because
I
of
was
the
about
weather.
to say the same thing, just because of the weather.
And Buffalo gives up a lot of rushing yards. So.
They do, yeah. And the thing is, like, and Joe, I know you know this. The Patriots actually have a very good rushing attack. Like, it's been kind of spotty, like kind of hit or miss, but they're number 4 in the league right now in yards per carry, and they have the 5th most rushing yards entering this week. So that tells you they know how to run the football when they actually commit to running the football. In a game that has up to 50-mile-an-hour winds, they should run the football. Should.
It's an inflated stat because you're running a collegiate style offense with Cam Newton.
It doesn't matter if it's inflated or not. That's the reality of the situation. Yeah. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that's a very inflated statistic. Like when the Cleveland Browns had the best pass defense in the NFL like 7 years back, it's because teams got up on them 28-0 in the first quarter and ran the football. It's not because Cleveland had the best pass defense. It's because Cleveland sucked so bad. All the QBs needed to do was throw for 150 yards, and then they just ran the football. So it's like, yes, do the Patriots produce on the ground? Sure. But their offensive line is banged up. Like, they had a rookie 6th-round pick starting last week, and then he gets hurt. Like, they don't have an offensive line right now. And by any means, Buffalo's defense has been anything but stellar the past few weeks.
Here's the thing, the biggest thing for me with this question, okay? New England plays at 1 o'clock. Seattle plays at 4. There's a chance that we may not know whether or not Carson is ruled out officially, that Hyde is ruled out officially, that Homer's ruled out officially. So do you really want to risk starting DJ Dallas knowing that he could very well be the 3rd guy in that offense, or trot out Harris knowing that he's going to get the most carries?
In that instance, you probably lean Harris because he does have the early game. I don't like it. I have zero faith in the Patriots to win a football game. In my entire lifetime, I have zero faith right now in New England even producing anything on offense.
One other thing I'll throw out is the 49ers give up the 2nd fewest PPR points to running backs. So do you really want to start DJ Dallas against them to begin with?
Yeah,
that's fair.
I'm not overly in love with any Seattle back this week, in all honesty.
Yeah,
they're going to throw the football. That's it.
Yeah. So lean Damian Harris then in that instance. From Cooter, our buddy Cooter.
Hello, Cooter.
What's up?
Harrison Bryant or Richard Rodgers?
Love them both this week, but give me Rodgers.
Yeah, Rodgers is stream of the week. Bryant was close, but the Cowboys give up more points to the tight end than the Raiders do. So,
yep. From ISO only, quick 2 questions: is the pass defense droppable at this point? Can snag the Saints? They seem pretty similar. You could probably find a better defense than both of them.
Don't get the Saints either. Yeah, that was my point there. The only thing I'll give the Pats is I expect this week to be low scoring, and Josh Allen is good for 2 fumbles, probably an interception and 2 fumbles.
Especially in the rain.
And then they have the Jets next week on top of that. The Pats defense, as bad as that offense has been playable just about every week this season, outside of the thrashing last week, and they weren't even terrible in that. But I would not drop the Pats for the Saints. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, definitely not. And then another one from him, Rojo or Deontay Johnson at the flex this week in a full PPR.
Don't the Bucks play the Giants?
Yep.
I mean, the Giants' run defense has been solid, or as solid as the Giants can actually be on defense. I know the threat of Fournette is there. I would go Ronald Jones. As much as I love Deontay Johnson, that's going to be a tough matchup this week in Baltimore. I fully expect that game to be one of those kind of like 17-14 type games, not a ton of offense.
And following the narrative of 2020, doesn't this feel like a week where Rojo is going to get benched by a bunch of people and then go off after what he did last week? So I'd probably roll with Rojo.
Yep. Just one more from Sean. He said, wasn't that in here when the guy really wanted to trade Aaron Jones for some reason, and we all said, don't do it?
Yeah.
And he was also in the chat saying not to do it. He apparently did it.
Oof.
And Sean said he was watching the fantasy football intervention, and he came into the chat and asked the dude doing a daily fantasy show to grade his trade. gave away Aaron Jones and Jarvis Landry for Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Swift. You do not. So you spent second, maybe first round draft capital on Aaron Jones. Jarvis Landry was probably 8th, 9th round, maybe a little earlier. Tyreek Hill was probably a 2nd or 3rd round pick. DeAndre Swift probably didn't go until double digits.
I mean, Swift is trending up. Obviously, Landry's stock goes up with the OBJ injury.
Yeah.
Still don't love that trade, though.
But does it, though? I really...
that's the big thing. Does it? We really don't know. He has not looked great this year. I think that hip injury is still bothering him. I have him as a play this week. I like the matchup. But I think that's really what you're getting. Like, Landry's still a matchup play. Like, he's not that every week flex or wide receiver 2 that he's been in years past.
The thing is, Jarvis Landry is not going into the Odell Beckham role.
No,
Rashard Higgins.
He's staying in the slot.
Exactly. Rashard Higgins is going into the Odell Beckham role. So at this point, Jarvis Landry's not going to get more looks because Odell Beckham's out.
He's just going to get more looks if he's open.
Yes.
Yep.
That's it.
It's still a run-first offense.
Yep.
And I said it on Wednesday's show, Rashard Higgins already had a strong rapport with Baker Mayfield. Putting him in a position to only get more targets means huge things for Rashard Higgins. So if you picked up Higgins, you probably stole someone off the waiver wire, in my opinion, for the second half of the season. I'm going to say it.
I don't think they're going to force feed Higgins the way that they were force feeding OBJ.
Sure.
But he's another option in that offense. And if Baker looks so much better when he's not force feeding the football to someone. When he can just spread it around, he can sit back and make plays. And that's only going to get easier for him when they get Nick Chubb back.
Yep.
So for me, Higgins, sure, has that upside. Landry has that upside. But you're still like, it's not going to be like a guaranteed 7-8 targets every week kind of thing.
I want to look.
I still would rather have the Aaron Jones side of that trade.
Yep. Tyreek Hill is way more boomer bust than people like to pretend he is, and
absolutely.
Aaron Jones isn't. It's just putting it bluntly.
Swift is still splitting carries with Adrian Peterson. So
now, the one thing I will say is, are you in a situation where you desperately need a starter this week? But even still, you probably have somebody who you could drop to make that change rather than giving away Aaron Jones forever.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you also don't want to start DeAndre Swift this week. That Colts defense is no joke.
Yep. His only upside lies in a receiving touchdown. That's all
correct.
DeAndre Swift's upside lies in. If we're grading the trade, and if you watch the show, I am brutally honest, you got fucked. Like, that's essentially what happened. You got
F for fucked.
Yes, F for fucked. Like, yes, is Hill technically an upgrade over Jarvis Landry? Sure, but honestly, you could find someone week to week that could probably do. Again, Ryan said it. Hill is boomer bust. That is a boomer bust receiver.
Yeah,
you could find someone that could do roughly the same or still do good for you on your fantasy team instead of trading away Aaron. It was essentially you traded Aaron Jones for Tyreek Hill, and we all know that's criminally wrong. Blunt with you. If you're listening, for the person that made that trade, just know for next time.
Yeah, I mean, in fantasy football, healthy right now, I think Christian McCaffrey is the only running back I'd rather have than Aaron Jones. Like, if everybody was healthy. Aaron Jones scores. He's involved in the passing game. Like, he does everything you want out of a fantasy running back.
If we're saying healthy, I might add Dalvin Cook in that mix as well, just because of how focused Minnesota is on running the football. And just watching Dalvin Cook run, I don't think he goes down after first contact or second contact. The guy is unreal. It's just, again,
I guess I'm discounting Kamara or Kamara or
Kamara.
Alvin the Chipmunk. It's Alvin the Chipmunk. Alvin the Chipmunk.
Gomara.
Yes. And Sean laughed at F is for fucked. He's like that. He said that everyone in the league was trying to talk him off the Aaron Jones trade ledge, and he just didn't want Aaron Jones on his team. That blows my mind. blows
right?
my mind. Why would
You
you
know
spend...
who else that's happening with right now is Ezekiel Elliott. People want to move him.
Ryan, shut up. Ryan, shut up. I'm trying to trade for him in a league. If he does bad this week, I'm gonna get him. Shut up. Ryan, shut up. Shut up. Shh. Bad person. Don't say nothing. Shh. Ryan.
Don't say nothing. The double negative means say something.
I am trying to get Philip. No, I'm trying to get Ezekiel Elliott for Philip Lindsay, Christian Kirk, and Darius Slayton. Okay, I'm trying to get him. I don't want to hear a
And
word
that's
out
the kind
of
of
you.
shit he's going for right now.
I don't
So-
want to hear a word out of you. Yeah, I hope Ezekiel Elliott has a 6-point week this week so I can get Ezekiel Elliott from my brother. But yeah, don't. Ezekiel Elliott is still Ezekiel Elliott for everyone out there. He still is. Yeah, you don't trade Ezekiel Elliott. Quick from Sean
Unless
Tom Brady.
it's to your brother.
Yes, then you do it to you because to help him win his fantasy football league
right.
that you're also in. Tom Brady.
I would hope he's in the league.
Could you
Is he
imagine
trading Ezekiel Elliott from another league?
cross league trading? That'd be sick. Tom Brady against New York or Ryan Tannehill against Cincinnati. It's Tom Brady to me.
It's Brady.
Yeah, I mean, they're both good matchups, but like you said, Joe, this could very easily be a Derrick Henry week, and
the
Tannehill
second part of
kinda
this question,
manages it. So, yeah, I would go Brady.
Yeah, and then Josh Allen or Justin Herbert.
I would go Herbert, not just because he's been lighting the world on fire, but just by default, because I'm not in on Josh Allen this week, not in those conditions at all.
I said it repeatedly on Wednesday. There's no way I'm benching Justin Herbert, and that includes for Josh Allen, especially in this weather. Justin Herbert.
I have Herbert as my downside. I would still put Justin Herbert in over Josh Allen.
So that's a super downside on Josh Allen.
Yeah. If you can't score a touchdown against the New York Jets, like remember when we were saying Josh Allen was an MVP contention?
Yeah, that went away quick.
Yeah, that went away real fast. People need to pump the brakes on hyping up, players too quickly. Like, we had Josh Allen pegged as an MVP candidate after week 3. What has he done since then?
He's looked like Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's looked like Josh Allen. He's looked like he's looked like a Wyoming quarterback. This is also
not to say he's not going to have good weeks later on this season. He's going
to. No, he definitely is. Michael in a PPR flex Le'Veon Bell or Zach Moss. 1, 2, 3. Le'Veon Bell.
Revenge game.
Revenge game special.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've seen a revenge game like what this is.
Yeah.
I mean, Bell literally hates Adam Gase. I'm pretty sure he hates the entire Jets organization at this point. He is going to campaign in. I feel like Andy Reid buys into this shit. So I feel like it's going to be really fun.
He is going to have 300. He could break rushing records this week.
I would not be shocked if he has like a 3 rushing touchdown game.
Oh yeah, Josh.
I would not be shocked at all.
The
Josh,
demon's
your mic
back.
sounds like my face.
The demon's back. Sounds like my face. That's a good one. In Josh type, we have a question that came in on Twitter. We can answer on the stream. Was that the notification that I got on here? Go ahead, read it. Read it, Josh.
Because I don't know 100% if they're actually watching, but he says, "Would you go Bernard this week? Is he good for a second straight week?" He also has DeAndre Swift.
Flip a coin and
yeah. I told him, I said, I think Bernard is probably the play. Swift against the Colts D, not great. He's still splitting carries with Peterson. At least we know that Bernard's going to get the bulk of the work. So
and
there's
the passing game.
And the passing game, correct.
Yeah.
So
and with that bad offensive line, they may need to get rid of that ball quickly, and that could lead to more dump offs for Gio. So as much as I'm down on him, if I'm comparing him to DeAndre Swift, I'm starting him.
Yeah. Agreed. From Gabe over on Facebook, all of his receivers are on buys. Oh, that's a tough one. Beckham is hurt. He's in a 14-team league. Not much to pick up. He picked up Higgins. That's a great pickup. Do we have any sleepers? Do we start Rashard Higgins? Gabe, I have Higgins as my upside this week. I talked about it, and I'll say it one more time, that Higgins is... I'm sorry, that was bad grammar. Higgins has great rapport with Baker Mayfield. He already had Baker's eye when Odell was in the lineup, so now Higgins slides in to
Yeah, he's
Odell
on-
Beckham's role.
He's on
They're
3
playing
straight
the
games.
Raiders.
Yeah, and they're playing an awful secondary.
Yeah.
Awful secondary. So I think this is, and also we saw what Oakland, damn it. We
Yep.
saw what Vegas did to Ronald Jones last week, right? Ronald Jones wasn't big on the ground. Yes, Fournette ripped off a few, so Kareem Hunt may be able to rip off a few. Maybe Dearness Johnson sees a couple good carries. But a lot of this is going to be through the air because the Raiders are going to have to throw to stay in this game.
Yep.
So are the Browns.
And Cleveland's pass defense has been Swiss cheese.
Abysmal.
Yeah, I compared-
outside of Denzel Ward, it's been terrible.
I compared this to the Oakland game versus Kansas City, to where I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. So, or the Vegas game. Damn it, Joe.
They're still the Oakland Raiders.
That's right, forever.
He says it seems to play good when he plays good. Yes, he
Yep.
does. He's Rashard Higgins. Honestly, a few years ago he wasn't great, and he's progressively worked on his skills, and he's actually not a bad third receiver. But obviously he slots in. He's still not going to be a first option or second option in that offense. That goes to Landry and Kareem Hunt. He's still going to be the third option,
Yep.
which isn't a bad thing because he's still going to be one of the deep threat guys and the mid-range guys as well. BDB again, how do you feel about people carrying 2 to 3 QBs in a 12-team 1 QB league?
I have zero issue with 2.
2
Yeah,
is acceptable.
three
3
is
is
too many.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
Especially if
Um,
if you're only starting 1, I don't really see a point in having 3 quarterbacks.
And the only way I'm having 2 right now is if I'm the guy who stole Justin Herbert, if I'm the guy who stole Joe Burrow, or if I'm waiting to see what Tua does over these next couple weeks. So
Yeah. I'm fine with 2 because at that point in a 12-team league, if you're assuming that everyone has a backup QB, there's 8 starters left on the market, and arguably those starters aren't very good.
yeah.
So I'm perfectly fine with keeping a backup, but not 2 backups. And Sean, I want to answer this because it's a betting question. He was watching something saying, one time in NFL history has a team covered a 20-point spread. Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs cover the 19.5-point spread against the Jets? Sean, let me give you a spoiler here. On Tuesday, when the line came out, I bet Kansas City minus 19. So, yes, I am very confident that the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs will throttle the winless New York Jets. Throttle. No competition. That is going to look like an 8th grade football team came to play the 85 Bears. That's what that game's going to look like.
My only concern is that Kansas City is fine with taking their foot off the gas pedal. Because, I mean, Mahomes only threw, 24 passes last week?
In the snow.
Yeah.
But hey, Chad Henne feels like he's been in the league since 1986. But hey, Chad Henne's still a good backup quarterback. And also, I mean, Chad Henne could shred the New York Jets. If Brett Rippon can shred the New York Jets, so can Chad Henne. Regardless, right, they're going to run the football. The Jets gave away their best run defender in Steve McClendon for a 7th-round pick. Literally gave him away. I have no clue how they didn't get more in return for Steve McClendon. Like, at least a 5th at that point. Like, a 5th. I would hope for a 4th. And now McClendon, we saw him last week in Tampa against the Raiders. He had a couple run stuffs and TFLs. That organization is an effing mess. Kansas City will blow them out. Let's see, any more?
To answer that question, though, while I think and I'm very certain that Kansas City will cover that spread, I would not bet that spread because I feel like it's an absolute trap.
Sean, I'm betting it. So just throwing that out there. I also bet the Patriots to cover their 21-point spread against the Dolphins last year, and that worked. So think first half of last year's Dolphins is this entire year's New York Jets. There you go. And our buddy Sam stopping in to say good morning.
Sam.
Love you, Sam. Miss you, buddy.
Yeah, Sam blowing up with the big follow back from Mr. Matthew Berry.
Yes.
Just, one of the small names in the industry out there.
Yeah, some guy.
Yeah, some guy. All right, from Scrapper 3131, he has Chris Carson So would a not fully healthy Carson be better than Giovanni Bernard? First time to the show. We appreciate you, Scrapper.
Yes.
Man. Okay, so who would you rather? Let's just go with Chris Carson is at 75%. Would you rather a 75% Chris Carson against the 49ers or a 100% Giovanni Bernard?
I don't even know that he's at that. I'm starting Gio. I've made it a policy over the last 2 seasons to not mess around with questionable players because what ends up happening is they play 2 or 3 snaps, they get hurt again, and now you've just gotten 5 minutes of work out of a guy. So give me Gio all day.
Yeah, I think I would lean Gio.
I'm leaning Bernard there as well. Normally they want to get bad offensive linemen out in space, so you could see a lot of screen game work in this game because the linemen at that point don't have to do a lot of blocking against the guys that are their size. They just have to get out and run and kind of be big bodies in space and let the playmakers like a Tyler Boyd, like a Giovanni Bernard, work their magic, get open in space, make the plays that they need to.
It's funny that I started the show saying I was super down on Gio, but you guys have managed to find every player I would start him over so far.
Well, that's the reason, right? It's like any other week you would never sit Chris Carson for Giovanni Bernard.
Exactly.
Unless it was, Chris Carson playing the Bucks and Giovanni Bernard playing the Jets. But yeah, these are the questions. It's 2020. We're halfway through the fantasy football season and we're contemplating Giovanni Bernard or Chris Carson.
And that brings up a good point is
crazy.
If you're sitting out 2-5 right now, don't give up on your fantasy team. 1-6, you're getting a little rough, but 2-5, you still have every chance to make those playoffs with the shit that everybody else is suffering through right now.
Yep.
And anything can happen this season. So pay attention to that. I also have a ton of leagues where second place is 4-3 right now. So if you're a guy who only looks at your team, make sure you're checking the standings every week too, because if second place is 4-3 and you're 2-5, while being 2-5 sucks, and even being 1-6 sucks, you're only 3 wins and 3 losses away from jumping into the playoffs.
So I will. I'll even add to that. In one of my leagues, in the division I'm in, 4 teams are tied at 4-3.
Yeah,
4 teams are tied at 4-3, and then the guy who's in last 2-5. And again, like Ryan said, there's always a chance this year, especially. And this is a great team name. So just as we wait for some more questions to come in, keep them coming, guys and girls. Trades, ad drops, start sit. In this league, this guy's team name is awful. Like that's his team name is awful. And it's the best team name because what was it? He had Tom Brady the year he tore his ACL. He had Jamal Charles the year he tore his ACL. Every for a string of 5 years or so, he had at least one of his top 3 picks go out for the season. So he changed his team name to Awful. I don't think he's ever been back to the playoffs since he changed his team name to Awful, which I think is amazing. Just wanted to share that with the general populace out there. All right, Sean, another one. Pick 2 of these 3 receivers: half point PPR, Kenny Golladay, Tyler Boyd, Robert Woods. Tyler Boyd is a yes. And then Kenny. Oh man, are we trusting Xavier Rhodes again? I'm gonna say you go Golladay and Boyd, because Golladay looked stellar last week against the Falcons. And yes, it's the Falcons, but the catches he was making were ridiculous.
Even against Miami, I'm not ready to trust Jared Goff. So give me Golladay and Tyler Boyd for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I would go Golladay and Boyd as well.
Yeah. All right, McSweet. I think this is the culprit here. He traded Aaron Jones and Jarvis Landry for Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Swift. Was that good? All right,
McSweet, I'm sorry to tell you this. You might not want to listen to the previous parts of this show.
Yeah, I'm gonna. McSweet, I believe you're a little new, so if you haven't been listening the past 3.5 years, or even just the past few months since the start of the season, I am very blunt with people. I will tell you if you made a poor decision. I will tell you if you made a great decision. I'll tell you if it was middle of the road. I could go either way. That was not the best trade you could make in the politically correct way to say it.
I'm not going to go politically correct, McSweet. Earlier in the show, we graded your trade F for
For
fucked. Because you
Yeah.
got fucked. Don't trade Aaron Jones. But it is what it is. You have to live with the team now. Tyreek Hill is boomer bust. Hopefully you're going to get a good week out of him this week. And I hope you were desperate for a starter this week because that's the only way I could possibly make that trade.
Yeah, Aaron Jones for me is this is just the year you don't want to trade your top upper echelon running backs at all.
Yeah.
I mean, in years past, sure, swing for the fences. I get that. But this year, and I know Aaron Jones has been banged up the last couple of years, or couple of weeks, excuse me. But I mean, still, even 14 games of Aaron Jones is going to be better than 16 games of the other 20 top running backs in the league.
And they had their bye already, which is
and they've had their bye already. Correct. Yeah. So, the only thing I could say is, you use this as a learning tool. I don't know how long you've been playing fantasy. Maybe you're new to it. Maybe you're not. I don't know. But you know what? Maybe it does work out for you, and we're all dumbasses.
Yeah.
Because that could very well be the case. We're basically just looking this as the 4 players that are involved. We're not looking at the rest of your team or the rest of the other person's team.
And I know a lot of trades about Aaron Jones came up this week because of the fact that you have teams that lost Mixon, Jones, Miles Sanders, to where there are people scrambling for starters. This is a rough week for my own team. So I get it. But Aaron Jones, I don't want to call him untradeable because he's not untradeable. But I've said this numerous times on the show. I'm not moving top running backs for top wide receivers. I'm barely moving running backs for wide receivers. And so when you look at that trade, and we kind of touched on this earlier, it's the drop down of Aaron Jones to DeAndre Swift worth the come up of Jarvis Landry to Tyreek Hill. And we just don't believe that it is. So,
yeah, that's all. I hope it works out for you.
Absolutely.
We're definitely not rooting against you. We hope Tyreek Hill smashes the rest of the season. And
hey, let me be clear. I have Tyreek Hill in my home league, so I hope you win this. And DeAndre Swift. Now that I think about it, I hope you win the fuck out of this trade. I just don't think you're going to.
Yeah, it's just something I had said. McSweet is you spent probably first or second round draft capital on Aaron Jones. If you had the first pick in the third round, maybe he fell that far. So it's just. Yes, Tyreek Hill was taken around the same spot, but Ryan said it, you're not trading a top-tier running back for a top-tier receiver when the receivers are just so deep and the running backs just aren't. It's just that simple. Running backs just aren't as deep, whereas receivers, again, there's 3 receivers on a team that could go off any single week. There's normally only 1 running back that can do that.
Yeah.
And he said, son of a bitch. I know I shouldn't have done that.
Hey, like I said,
it's all right, McSweet.
Dude, we all make trades we wish we could have back. Ask Ryan during our dynasty draft and during our rookie draft. I had the biggest man crush on Jalen Reagor. I'm an Eagles fan. Yep. I wanted to have him. I gave up Tyler Lockett and a first round pick next year to ensure that I got Jalen Reagor. He's been hurt all year, and look what Tyler Lockett is doing. Sure, I wish I could have that back in hindsight. But you know what? I'm still going to move forward with Jalen Reagor because I believe he's going to be a stud. So I'm okay.
And I'm rooting for you this weekend for the rest of the season because, like I said, in the league I root for the most, my home team, I have both those players, McSweet. So at least you have me on your side if that means anything.
in that same league, I already beat Josh once this year. So, yeah, but I mean, we talk about trades we don't like. I traded Keenan Allen, my baby, but I'm happy I traded him to Ryan because Ryan has the same
Ryan
love.
will take care of him.
Yeah, Ryan has the same love for Keenan Allen as I do.
You'll feed him and nourish him and just keep him as a upper echelon wide receiver.
And Dr. Octagon, if you watch the show, I will take care of Terry McLaurin that same way. Respond to my fucking trade offers.
I think he finally responded to my Jared Cook trade for a second round pick. Did not accept. Not surprising. But all right, here we go. Back to the questions here from Victor. Josh Kelly against Denver, Jerick McKinnon against Seattle in a PPR.
A hell of a question.
I don't know. Do tired legs give you extra points?
I'm going to go with Josh Kelly. He's going to see more time on the field.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm leaning to. I mean, with Kelly, you're just really hoping he falls in the end zone because he's only going to average 2.9 yards per carry. Like it's pretty abysmal at that point.
Because it's PPR, I think I'm going to go McKinnon. I just feel like they're going to get him back.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. Like PPR, McKinnon, like that's the standard. Like that's what you want. But how can you trust McKinnon right now?
You can't.
That's true. And Kelly is getting his volume regardless of whether or not he does anything with it. He's getting okay. I see your point. So I guess this comes back to one of my favorite answers. If you need floor, Kelly. If you need ceiling, McKinnon.
Yep.
Fair enough.
From our buddy Sam, rest of the season question: Mark Andrews or Darren Waller? Is Andrews
Give me
too touchdown
Waller.
dependent?
Waller.
Yeah, Darren Waller.
All day, yes.
Waller.
Andrews
I love Mark Andrews, but man, he has become way too touchdown dependent. We talked about it on Wednesday's show, Ryan. That he's only 3 games this year under 6 fantasy points.
Yep.
In PPR, yep.
Yeah, I mean it's unreal how inconsistently consistent he's been.
Mm-hmm.
Consistently inconsistent. Yeah.
I was actually firmly on the other side of this argument when the season started, and I am fully flipped over to Darren Waller at this point.
From Scrapper, he's adding on to me. Running backs are the golden tickets. I always stockpile them since everyone needs them.
Agreed.
Scrapper, I'm the same way. I normally go running back, first, second round. There's
what? Sorry, reading the comments ahead. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up, but I just wanted to bring up Scrapper's point. Yeah, I go running back normally. This year I didn't in a couple leagues. I went running back receiver because I didn't like the running backs on the board and Devonta Adams was there. So there's very minimal situations where I'll go running back receiver. But yeah, no, I went running back, and I got Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, and Josh Jacobs in one league. So I'm on the same wavelength. I think receivers you can find on the waiver wire any single week. Running backs you can't. And then from Sean, I think this is the that
yeah. This
about.
Was the alert that just came through. Mike Garofalo, the Eagles will activate Dallas Goedert today.
Son of a bitch. Well, my stream of the week hurts now.
But you know what though? I don't even think it does. Look how much the Eagles utilize 2 tight end sets. So, I mean, is Rodgers upside cap with Goddard? Sure. But all that means is Rodgers is going to play more of the Ertz role versus the Goddard role of being split out more. So
I have Goddard and Rodgers on my team. Wow, that's tough.
Well,
you got to start Goddard now, right?
Yeah, I would still go Goddard.
What hurts me is I have Goddard stored in a bunch of IRs that I didn't plan on having to fix this week, so now I have to fix that too. So,
luckily, this league doesn't have IR spots, so they're just deep bench.
And also, just I'm going to point this out because I am an Eagles fan. The Eagles are activating Jalen Reagor, Jason Peters, linebacker TJ Edwards, and safety Rudy Ford.
You know,
We're getting healthy, baby.
I'm going to jump off script right now then, because this was something that I'll be honest, I'm pondering this for myself, and I got it in a few chats. Jalen Reagor, Denzel Mims this week. Rookies in situations where they should see the ball. Who are you guys playing?
Reagor. It's not even a question. Jalen, are you kidding me? Jalen Reagor against the worst defense in NFL history? What?
I'm excited.
And he's not even going to see Trayvon Diggs, most likely.
No.
You may hear both of those names come up for our segment we do at the end of the show. So.
Jalen Reagor, all day, every day.
Yeah, he's being plugged into a lot of my DFS lineups.
Yeah.
He may see 3 catches, but they could go for 200 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. This will be like a Deshaun Jackson introductory game. I can see it already.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson welcome to the
like
NFL.
50-yard bombs each time around. It's going to be fantastic.
Love it.
And then Reagor went to school at TCU as well.
He did, yeah.
30 minutes down the road from AT&T Stadium.
Sean, I know we've kind of gone a little bit off script, but to answer your question,
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert. Shade 721. He just traded Chris Carson and Antonio Brown to an unhappy and worried Ezekiel Elliott owner. Thoughts on that trade?
I have zero.
You won that, sir.
Yeah, I have zero issue with that. I mean, I love Carson. He's been banged up, but he's also been very productive. You don't know what the hell you're getting with AB. But right now, I think Zeke is a top 3 guy. Even with the fumbles and the inconsistency, he's still seeing a ton of targets, and that's going to keep his value high in PPR.
McSweet's asking, should he ask him if he gave back Tyreek Hill, would he give Aaron Jones back?
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Right? It does not hurt to ask.
Never hurts to ask.
You know, if you're going back and asking, the other guy's going to be like, no, give me so-and-so if you really want him back. So I again, doesn't hurt to ask. I wouldn't. Yep. I would just move on and deal with it.
Yeah, and in that case, you would come out of that trade with Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, there is no harm in asking. Never any harm in asking. Okay. And then Sean, him are talking back and forth. about the trade here, but we're on to the show doc now. 50 minutes in. I love when we can just run through all these questions.
Which is good because I did not have a lot for the show doc this week.
Well, here's how about this? I'll ask one here because I'm looking at the free agency wire here in my league. Would you start Jamal? Would you pick up Jamal Williams and start him over Josh Jacobs?
Oh, I'm the
PPR.
Josh Jacobs truther in this league or in this show, so I will not start anybody over Jacobs yet. So no.
I mean, if it were anybody else, I'd say go with Williams, just for the simple fact that Jacobs hasn't looked great this week, but it's Cleveland.
So here's your
I
other.
would go with, this is that game where Jacobs can get back on track.
Here's your other options to bench. Dalvin Cook, not going to happen.
No.
Travis Fulgham, we all agree he's going to go off this week.
Yeah.
And DK Metcalf.
Oof. Yeah. I mean, don't love DK's matchup, but I think after the week last week, this is going to be a big.
It's going to
DK
swing.
week.
Yep.
Yeah,
You got to feed DK now.
Yeah.
And I started DJ Moore, so that one hurt.
I mean, it was a good matchup, though.
Oh, it's a fantastic
Yeah, it was a
matchup.
great
He
matchup.
smoked him. He smoked him a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he was open in the game.
Yeah, he was open a lot, and they just weren't looking his way.
Here's the thing, though. He is probably pissed and is going to go off next week because he's telling Teddy, look, Teddy, I am open.
Yeah.
Just throw me the foot in. You saw it, too, on that first catch he made on that final drive where he stiff-armed the shit
He's
out
mad.
Oh, my God.
Well, that's
Like
kind of what I said is DJ Moore is still, when we didn't really get into the Thursday game much, but DJ Moore is still playable on air yards alone. He just does what he needs to do to get yardage. So,
Yeah,
you brought up a lot of names in your free agency question. Go ahead. I apologize. I do want to go back to your free agency question, though.
Oh, I mean, I can bring up other names. I mean, the only name was Jamal Williams.
No. One of my favorite questions I got this week was Fulgham, DK, or everybody's darling, Brandon Ayuk. Exactly.
Can you not start all three of them?
Wow.
I honestly, I'm sure I asked him that question. I don't remember the answer, but that was one I wanted to bring to you guys because it's to the point right now where I'm telling him to bench Ayuk because I'm too afraid of DK's ceiling, and I just love Travis Fulgham. So,
yeah, I think that
start
would be
all
where
of
I would
them.
go. Yeah. I mean, look, the obvious answer is find a way to start all three, but I think I would sit Ayuk just by default because, again, as great as that matchup is, he's not the number one option there.
Yep.
And right now, I don't think you can say the same about the other three or the other two. Excuse me.
Well, and that's
like DK's still like 1B in that offense if he's not 1A, and then Fulgham right now is just he's on another tier.
So I'll because I had DK as my downside last week, and I compared him to what he did last year against Arizona. Here's what he did last year against San Francisco: 6 for 70, 6 for 81, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Flex at minimum.
And Sherman was playing all those games too.
Yeah.
Flex at minimum for that guy. You're not.
And they're
going to
have to throw so much more this week.
And also, those two games combined, he had 22 targets and was by far the two most targeted games that he had all last season.
Are we concerned that Philly gets ahead in this game based on big plays by Jalen Reagor and the tight ends?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Honestly, not at all. If it were Miles Sanders starting, yes. But it's Boston Scott. They're not going to feed Boston Scott 25 carries.
Also, do we know DK Metcalf's full name? Because it's amazing.
It's Kalen, right?
DeKalen Zacharias Metcalf. How to make a great player even greater? Wow, that's incredible. I love that name. All right, back to our questions here from Robert Robbins. Oh, that's just smooth off the tongue.
It is.
T. Higgins or Hollywood Brown? T. Higgins.
T. Higgins.
I still, and Robert, this is not anything on you. This is on the Hollywood Brown fans across the world. Why do we still like this guy?
Because he's electric.
Fast.
He's fast. I mean, speed is that sexy attribute that everybody wants on their team, but
He's Antonio Brown's cousin.
So
Yeah,
was
well, that
Tavon.
too, yeah.
So was Tavon Austin.
my point exactly.
dude.
I mean, that is the point. Yeah, it's like just because these guys are fast doesn't mean they're going to be consistent fantasy options. And right now, Lamar Jackson can't throw a beach ball into the ocean standing beachside. Like that's just how bad his deep ball is right now. He's not hitting anyone.
In his defense, the wind could be blowing towards him, which wouldn't allow the beach ball to go in the water. So it's fair. But no, if he jumped out of a boat, he couldn't hit water. That's essentially what Lamar Jackson's deep ball looks like. From Fusion V, I assume Fusion 5. PPR, who does he start? Pick 2, it's a Fournette, a Bernard, a Le'Veon Bell, and a Melvin Gordon.
I'm going
Le'Veon
Bell
Bell
game specials with both Le'Veon Bell and
Melvin Gordon.
That's easy one for me, Bell and Gordon.
Yep. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell and Melvin Gordon.
I didn't even connect the Melvin Gordon revenge game part of it. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and especially with Lindsey being questionable, May leaning towards not playing with a concussion, I believe, he's going to see even more volume. I mean, look, the Chargers' run defense has been solid over the course of this year. They've been burned recently. So,
yep.
Yeah, and you know that Gordon's going to have extra motivation on his side. I would go Gordon. And
Robert responded, he says, Lamar needs to start throwing the ball more if he wants to be successful this year. I think if he just wants to be successful in his career, he really needs to start completing more passes and get more consistent as a quarterback.
That's fine. The Ravens want him to
his efficiency has been good. I mean, he has over a 6% touchdown rate. Like, it's not that. I mean, look, we knew last year he was going to come down. I mean, a 9% touchdown rate is just, that is unsustainable. Yeah. You know, we've talked about it all off season. The rushing touchdowns are what's missing here.
Yep.
Because he only has 2. I was looking at this. I didn't even realize this, and I'm an Eagles fan. Carson Wentz has 5 rushing touchdowns this year.
Yep.
He has more total touchdowns than Lamar Jackson this year.
Wow.
Lamar has 2. He's second among quarterbacks in rushing yards. But it's the passing. Like, it just hasn't been as efficient as last year, and that's what's really dragging him down. And just missing so many good throws, easy throws.
And that efficiency is not going to get better this week, but those rushing touchdowns could very well come up this week because he's going to be running for his life. And unlike most guys, when he's running for his life, he can make you pay while that happens. So
this is interesting. You want to know some names who have more or the same amount of rushing touchdowns as Lamar Jackson? Kyler Murray, obviously. Cam Newton, obviously. Carson Wentz, Josh, you brought up. Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow.
Dak did it in one game.
Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Ryan Fitzpatrick have more or the same amount of rushing touchdowns as Lamar Jackson. A lot of you may be saying, well, yeah, makes sense. Kyler Murray, Cam Newton, Dak Prescott, these guys make sense. They should not have more rushing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson.
Especially for as much as Lamar runs the football.
Yes, and you're looking at yardage. The only guy on this list that has more rushing yards
is Kyler Murray
by 101 rushing yards.
Yeah, Kyler Murray has been incredible this year, just absolutely incredible. He is this year's Lamar.
Yes. Drew Brees has 0 rushing yards and the same amount of touchdowns as Lamar Jackson.
Sounds about right.
That's ridiculous. It's utterly absurd. But yeah, and you may be asking, how is that possible? Anytime you kneel, it's considered a loss of 1 yard on a run play. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And Sean says, you remember all offseason, we were talking Hollywood, added 15 pounds. That 15 pounds didn't help Lamar's deep ball. I agree, Sean. You put in as much muscle as you want, but it doesn't help Lamar's deep ball. Fusion 5, Jared Cook or Jonnu Smith in a PPR.
Jonnu, for me.
Yeah, Jonnu for me, but I get where this question's coming from with 3 Saints wide receivers being out. Jared Cook is going to see some volume, but man, this is just a smash matchup for Jonnu this week.
It is awful weather in Chicago. 39 degrees.
We talked about it Wednesday. Drew Brees on the road, outdoors.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Not great.
I have Jonnu as my downside just because I think it's a huge Derrick Henry week. Even to that same tune, Jared Cook may only see 2 catches, and I think Jonnu Smith probably sees the same thing. So I'm still going Jonnu Smith because better weather, better matchup. He should see more volume, but I really think this is a Derrick Henry week. I'm still leading Jonnu there. Yeah. All right, keep the questions coming.
There is one from Victor.
Oh, I apologize, Victor. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I saw that and I apologize, Victor. Which 49ers running back would you start in a PPR?
Remember, he had the McKinnon question earlier.
Yeah. So my guess is
I'm on board JaMycal Hasty.
Yeah, JaMycal Hasty.
He's looked like the better back. Now, I know there's the question that maybe they activate Tevin Coleman before this game. And if they do, I think Coleman will see a bulk of the work.
JaMycal Hasty.
But yeah, I'm leaning Hasty this week. Even, PPR or standard.
Again, this is so 2020. Could you imagine halfway through the 49ers season with Jerick McKinnon, Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, they've gone through 5 running backs already.
Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. We'd be talking about JaMycal Hasty,
an undrafted
free agent out of Baylor, to be the guy to start in fantasy football. What?
2020.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I would go JaMycal Hasty. I attended the Oklahoma Baylor game last year, and JaMycal Hasty was arguably the reason Oklahoma began their comeback with his fumble in the third quarter. So I can't see past that part of JaMycal Hasty, but he has looked incredibly quick and incredibly fast and quick decision-making. I like him this week against Seattle. Again, Seattle's defense is just bad. All right, we are at the 1 hour and 1 minute mark here. Yep. So let's quickly go through. If we get any more questions, guys, please drop them in. The low-rostered, cheap DFS running back for this week, Joshua, you have Zachary Moss.
Yeah, I mean, it really boils down to the matchup and just potential usage. I mean, the Patriots right now, since week 4, have allowed the 9th most fantasy points per game to running backs. We've talked about the wind conditions, the weather. I don't foresee a ton of passing attempts in this game. I really don't. And ultimately, I think that's going to favor Zach Moss from a Bills perspective. Singletary will see his work as well. They're roughly, like a 55-45 split in terms of touches. But he's also running routes the same way that Devin Singletary is. Singletary only ran 2 more routes than him last week. He's fairly widely available, 36.5% rostered in ESPN leagues, and he's pretty cheap in DFS as well. 4,400 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel. Those are flex prices that you can get at least an RB2 floor out of this week. So if you need a cheaper option so you can pay up for Devontae Adams or pay up for some of those running backs, you can fit him in as that RB2 or even flex for cheap.
Ryan, to your wide receiver.
I got 2 of them this week, both rookie wide receivers. We already talked about them, Denzel Mims and Jalen Reagor. As Josh said, he's already finding ways to get Reagor into lineups, and I think that's a great call. His speed alone makes him a danger for 1 to 2 touchdowns this week, and he showed us that ability in week 1 before this injury even happened. And Mims led the team in targets last week. You're dealing with no Crowder, no Perriman again this week. Against the team where you're going to have to throw the ball a ton. Kansas City is by no means a great matchup for wide receivers, but just on high volume alone, I think there's a very good chance we see 5 to 7 catches for 80 yards out of Mims. And if he happens to take one of those to the house, you're going to be very happy with starting him this week. Both available, both very cheap in DFS. They may not be available in a lot of leagues just because people love rookies, but they're definitely worth a look, especially since Reagor still has that IR designation. People may not be ready to pick him up yet.
All right, and then my low-rostered IDP is here. D lineman. Boy, do I love picking up defensive linemen that play against the Dallas Cowboys. Fletcher Cox is available in 90% of CBS leagues right now.
Wow.
90%. Of
Good
CBS
Lord.
leagues.
Yeah,
right
he is
now.
going to smoke the Cowboys this week. Oh, I'm so excited.
He hasn't had a great season, only 1.5 sacks. Hasn't been a monster in terms of, run stuffing when it comes to stats, like statistics. But it's the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, if you saw what Washington did to them last week, Fletcher Cox is going to ruin the center of that offensive line. Fletcher Cox is available, and I'm looking at as well. I saw one more Philadelphia Eagle, I believe, on here. Or no, the opposite side. DeMarcus Lawrence is also available. He had a solid week last week against a bad Washington football team offensive line. Had 7 total tackles and a sack. D-Law could see some of that again this week as well. He'll normally come off the left side or the right side of the offensive line. And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, Lane Johnson isn't playing.
Last I checked, he was.
Yeah,
He was,
I
okay.
thought he
He was
was.
trending that way. So.
Even then, I still like DeMarcus Lawrence. He should be able to get to Carson Wentz at least once, but I'm still leaning Fletcher Cox by far in that matchup. When it comes to linebackers, I'm picking a New York Jet. The reason being, I talked about it, Le'Veon Bell's going to touch the ball 30 times. He has to get tackled by someone.
Yeah, you can't score every time, right?
Yeah, and that someone
Right?
should be Neville Hewitt. Hewitt has recorded at least 6 total tackles in every single game this year. He has 2 pass deflection. In the latest game he recorded, he had 13 total tackles. I believe he was tied for the league lead in tackles last week. Rostered in 22% of leagues. I like Neville Hewitt this week. And I'm going to stay in the great state of New York and go to Adrian Phillips, who will be playing in Buffalo this week with the New England Patriots. Rostered in 27% of leagues, but we talked about it. Huge wins. He is their stuffer inside the box when it comes to safeties. Big fan of Adrian Phillips and what he can do in terms of loading up on tackles this week. So I will lean Adrian Phillips in that matchup as well. All right. Had a lot more come in.
Yeah, we
I
did.
love this. All right. From Peter D'Angelo over on YouTube. He's in a full PPR. He's got Boston Scott, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd. Looking for a flex. He also has Jamal Williams, Mike Evans, and Brandon Ayuk. So I assume the question comes from
Okay.
who is he flexing, Jamal Williams, Mike Evans, or Ayuk?
Yeah, that's a lot of options. Holy
Yeah.
goodness.
Congratulations on wonderful roster management.
Yeah, I
Yes.
feel like we should just rate them from top to bottom.
Well, I think all we're really worried about is Williams, Evans, and Ayuk. I think those
Okay.
other guys are who
And-
he's starting. So
And we can probably eliminate. I know Mike Evans has a good matchup against the Giants. We can probably eliminate Mike Evans from this conversation.
I don't think so.
no,
Against
I'm starting
Giants?
Evans.
Yeah, I think I would lean
Really?
Evans. Yeah. Well, with Godwin out, AB's not playing yet. I mean, it's him or Scotty Miller, really, at wide receiver.
Josh, you have been riding the James Bradbury
I have.
like Deion Sanders train
No,
this
I
entire
have.
year.
I agree. I have. Evans is something special, though.
Corners don't matter to Evans.
Yeah, corners
Giving the
don't matter
ball
to Evans.
matters to Evans.
Yeah. At all. You just
Well,
give him the
you know
football.
what?
he's
I'm
gonna
gonna.
go up and get it.
I regret that statement immediately because Marcus Lattimore sure in the fuck matters to Evans.
That's the only one, and he sucks against everybody else.
Jamal
That might just be
Williams.
getting in his head. Nope, I'll go Evans. This might be your last week you can play Evans. Play him, trade him.
I was gonna say, play him when he blows up, trade him. Like that. That would be the easiest
Yeah.
thing for me. I think Williams probably has the safest floor as a running back.
Oh, certainly. He's going to touch the ball more than the other
Yeah.
two for sure.
But when you look at potential upside, obviously we know what IU can do. But for me, it's Evans. I mean, he's.
Yeah, you also have to be trusting
profile.
Jimmy G.
I mean,
You have to be
yeah.
trusting Jimmy G on IU.
I mean, honestly, at this point, who do you trust more, Tom Brady or Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't know why we're discounting Jamal Williams here, but I would start Jamal Williams personally. That's just me. I would start Jamal Williams.
There you go. Two Evans, one Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I have been on the train that I didn't like Mike Evans coming into this season. So he also says sick mask, Ryan.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah. Robert, another one from Facebook. Should he let go of the Indianapolis defense with the rough schedule they have left?
After
No,
this
sir.
week. Well, maybe after this week. It is a bad schedule moving forward, but definitely play them this week and then trade them.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ryan, you're the resident defensive guy.
No.
There are
I'm all
no
about
defenses.
streaming, but to me, they've kind of
Solidified.
separated themselves as the top defense this year.
So here's their remaining schedule. The Lions this week, who we're all confident they'll play well.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Ravens. That's a tough matchup, but that's also in Indianapolis. The Titans, twice. Not worried there. The Packers, tough matchup. Again, that's at home, though. And we already saw what the Packers tried to do against Tampa Bay, who was essentially built the exact same way as the Indianapolis Colts. Strong run defense, weaknesses in the passing game. They play the Texans twice, once in Week 15 in semifinals week.
Yeah.
Their playoff schedule is the Raiders, Texans, and Steelers.
So let me
I'm
put it
not
this
dropping
way.
them.
They're playable, but you're not going to have the defense won every week, and you can end up. You might not even be top 5 every week. Whereas with streaming, you can do that. If you don't want the hassle of picking a new defense based on matchup every week, there is no reason to move on from Indy. They're not going to get you negative. They're probably not even going to score fewer than 4 fantasy points any week. You just have to temper your expectations on a few of their games moving forward.
Indy is going to be a startable defense every week. I don't think
I'll give you that. As long as there's no injuries and they're going to continue to run the football, they are a startable defense.
Yep. From Sean, Hunter Henry or Dallas Goedert for rest of season? 1, 2, 3. Dallas Goedert.
This is an interesting one for me.
How? You're an
and I'm going to throw a curveball here. I'm all about Dallas Goedert, and I love his upside. But when you want to talk about consistency at the tight end position, which is very lacking, Hunter Henry brings it probably next best to like Travis Kelce. He is consistently getting 10 points a game and is not scoring touchdowns.
To where if the touchdowns start to come.
So if the touchdowns start to come, he now vaults into that top 5. With Goddard, you're going to have a lot more down weeks. This is why I say if you want consistency, I don't hate Henry over Goddard. But if you want those big boom weeks, Goddard is absolutely your guy.
Goddard on a down week is still going to be 2 points less than Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert, like Donald Parham, Jalen Guyton, and Virgil Green are scoring more touchdowns than Hunter Henry. Okay, well that's great. They'll find another big body tight end not named Hunter Henry.
They're bringing Antonio Gates back.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert for me on that one. From Sashin Tobarin, great name.
Jimmy Graham,
Jimmy Graham or Robert Tonyan this week. Jimmy Graham, revenge game. And
you start your tight ends against the Saints.
2 touchdowns.
Yes, you start your tight ends against the Saints. PPR, pick 2 from Sean. Pick 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, excuse me. Stephon Diggs, Kenny Golladay, Cooper Kupp, Le'Veon Bell, Giovanni Bernard. Le'Veon Bell, Kenny Golladay,
Kupp.
Giovanni Bernard.
I would go Kupp.
I would do what Josh should.
Yeah, the Kupp.
The weakest part on the Dolphins defense is their slot, and that's where Kupp's running out of. So the weakest part of their pass defense. Let me refer.
You're benching Diggs because of the weather. Let me just throw that out there because it's weird to say you're benching Diggs, but you're benching Diggs because of the weather.
Yeah, because Stephon Gilmore tweaked his knee in practice, which would have killed my downside for Diggs because that was my whole reasoning is he's playing against Stephon Gilmore, but the weather is helping me in that instance. Yeah, Bell in your flex, and then you got to go Golladay and Kupp. Right, yeah, that's my bad. You have to go Golladay and Kupp there.
Yeah.
From Fusion 5, T. Higgins is an automatic start. I don't know if it's automatic if we're talking rest of the season, I don't know if it's automatic. This week, I believe it's an automatic start.
Here's the thing. I don't like that word automatic because it takes out of the equation everybody else on your roster.
Yeah.
And we don't know that.
And
so that being said, we like Higgins this week. He has a very good matchup.
Great
He's
matchup.
been utilized very well in this passing offense, and Joe Burrow is averaging the most pass attempts per game, which ultimately increases his potential ceiling, or even his floor for that matter.
Yep.
Start him this week, sure. But again, we don't know what your other options are. He is I would think he's at least a flex going forward, at minimum.
I would say so. Yeah, unless it's an absolutely terrible matchup, I would say so. And then last one of the day, mixed sweet. Do you start DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, or DK? Pick 2. I know
this is going to hurt
Swift.
because you just traded for Swift.
Jamal Williams and DK Metcalf.
Yeah, and Swift is not bad rest of season. He is bad this week against the Colts. Jamal Williams and DK.
Yep. Yeah, I said it earlier. DeAndre Swift upside lies in a receiving touchdown.
Which could very well happen.
It could 100% happen, but Jamal Williams is going to have 2 touchdowns. That's the difference. And then DK Metcalf, you're not benching DK Metcalf for DeAndre Swift, especially this week. So, yeah, Jamal Williams, DK Metcalf. I know it hurts because you just traded for Swift, but Jamal Williams and DK Metcalf. Yep. All right, gents, that is all we have for today. What a lovely show. I love that we're not dipping into our show doc notes.
Yep.
I love that it's all coming from people watching, people listening. So we appreciate
every one of you.
Love all you guys.
Yes,
And girls.
Yes, and girls. Same time next week, 11 a.m. Start sit different day. Our three beautiful faces. Maybe Faith will be joining us. Who knows if?
And we might have a guest next week too.
Yes.
Ooh.
Just throwing that out there.
Special guest.
I have to confirm with them, but there's a chance that we might have a guest next week too, and they are pretty freaking awesome. So
Is it the guest I have been asking to have on?
maybe.
Ooh. This guest is awesome. If this person, I don't want to reveal gender. If this person joins us, trust me, it's gonna be an awesome time. All right, so yeah, that is potentially joining us next week.
Dynasty show on Friday.
Dynasty show on Friday. Club Dynasty join us Friday at 8 o'clock
8:30.
Eastern.
8:30.
8:30 Eastern. As you could tell, I know this like the back of my hand. I can tell you though, we're live Wednesday at 7. I know that
There
one
you
for
go.
a fact.
We've been doing that for 3 years.
There
That
we
one
go.
for a while. Who is joining us on Wednesday, Josh?
John Helmkamp.
Yes.
Yes, the Dynasty
beard.
Beard, John Helmkamp, in his new home of beautiful Michigan.
Yes.
Yeah.
He says he's very excited to watch Jonathan Taylor run on the Detroit Lions in the current state he lives in.
There you
He's
go.
very, very excited to see that. Hopefully, JT rips off a good week, and John.
Yeah,
can
and he'll
join
get that
us.
on local broadcast. He
Yes.
wants to go through like Red Zone or something.
I think
He will.
I think we might have JT on a lot of 3-up lists next week.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's what.
Either that or he's gonna be on some downs because he should smash this
You,
week.
you
Listen,
shut
I
your
am-
mouth.
I am playing Keith in the Dynasty League, and he has Darren Waller, DK Metcalf, Alvin Kamara, Patrick Mahomes, and Kenny Galladay, and Tyler Boyd. So what I need from Jonathan Taylor
Is
about
the
80
world.
points.
is to anal pound the Detroit Lions, because I have to start Matthew Stafford, Demir Bird,
Yeah, buddy.
and Devontae Parker.
Ouch.
That's who I have to start, because my bench is Jerick McKinnon, Alexander Madison, Jamison Crowder, Tim Patrick, Van Jefferson, and Jared Cook. You may be asking, Joe, why does your team suck?
He's building
Dallas
for
Goddard,
next year.
Cortland Sutton, and Alan Lazard are all on IR. That
There you
is
go.
why my team sucks. So there you go. All right. So join us Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern. Same place you're watching here, but also if you have a Twitch account, you can watch us on Twitch as well. John Helmkamp, Dynasty Beard, will be joining us for that show. Friday, Club Dynasty with...
Marvin Eloquin, newest writer for the Fantasy Footballers and writer with Dynasty Nerds.
Whoop, whoop, big time. Also, last week's guest, or I guess this week's, that's very weird, right? Because we're still in this week. Lauren Carpenter, who joined the show on Wednesday,
Yep.
will be on NFL Fantasy Live on Tuesday.
Yes.
So,
And that's on NFL Network.
yes.
Yeah.
He's
So,
big time now.
yes.
But also
we're
keep in mind that Ian Thomas still sucks.
yeah, Ian Thomas still sucks. But we're happy to have triggered Lauren's career with our platform that we have here.
Yeah.
Yes,
She
we're
only
totally going to take credit for that.
Yes, we take all credit. The last appearance Lauren had before she went on NFL Network was Club Fantasy.
And do you know who the last appearance before Troy King went on Yahoo Fantasy was? Besides his own show, us. We guessed people
We
in the
propel.
bigger spots.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we propel. We propel people.
Now we just need to get those calls.
yeah,
Exactly.
right? Call me. I'm the one in the Bucky the Beaver onesie, and Ryan looks like a jack-o'-lantern. Josh didn't dress up for the occasion. It's okay.
I didn't know we were. So
Halloween.
I had my Halloween costume on last week, and
I fully
unfortunately
expected this
caved
to
the
be a
cool
surprise.
program.
So
Yeah, I mean, I dress like this because it's comfy as hell.
there you
So,
go. I am
just-
uncomfortable as shit, so you can end this show at any time.
All right, fantastic. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. If you're playing DFS, Kira's Cash Grabs just dropped this morning. Be sure, go and check those
Yes,
out.
check that out. I won $30 on FanDuel last week because of that article. So
Big time.
Plus, she talks about how awesome one of our other writers are.
Yes. Also,
Sure, if you could wink right now, Ryan, you would.
Also, my blurred lines pick once more is the Philadelphia Eagles. The line has already moved to, I believe, -9.5 or -10 on some sites. I am still confident in that pick, not as confident. But if you want my alternate pick, I have the Chicago Bears +5 at home against the New Orleans Saints. So that's my alternate blurred lines pick this week. So, and quickly from Sasha, and last one, he's going to roll the dice and start T.Y. Hilton. Should he rethink this thought?
Yes, you should rethink this thought.
Yeah.
Yes, rethink that. Do not.
I do
start
have him
T.Y.
projected
Hilton.
to score a touchdown this week. So if you're going to start him for a week, I guess it's this week, but I'd have to know your other options. Shoot us a DM. We'll get at you.
Yep. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy. Join us Wednesday with John Helmkamp, Dynasty Beard from Red Shirts, and Ball Blast, 7 o'clock Eastern. Facebook, Twitter, not Instagram. I take that back. Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. We will see you in 4 days. I can't do math. We'll see you later.